Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nurul Izni Wajdah binti Mohammad Kamal and I am currently studying at SMK SYED Mohammed BUKHARY. I will explain about an interesting book that caught my heart when I first read this book. The title of the book is Flesh and Blood So Cheap, The Triangle Fire and Its Legacy. This book was published by an unabridged production and the author of this book is Albert Marine. This is the story about national disasters and U.S. history. On March 25, 1912, the Triangle Shirtwaist factory in New York City burst into flames. The factory was crowded. The doors was locked to ensure workers stay inside. 146 people, and most of them are women, was perished. It was one of the most fatal workplace fires in American history until September 12, 2001. But the story of the fire is not the story of one accidental moment in time. It is a story of immigration and hard work to make it in a new country, as Jews and Italians and others traveled to America to find a better life. It is the story of poor working conditions and greedy bosses as garment workers discovered the endless sacrifice required to make ends meet. It is the story of unimaginable but avoidable and disaster, and it is also about the unquenchable pride and activism of fearless immigrants and women who stood up to business, got America on their side, and finally changed working conditions for our entire nation, initiating radical new laws we take for granted today. As I know, with Flesh and Blood So Cheap, Albert Marine, the author of this book, has crafted a gripping, nuanced and poignant account of one America's defining tragedies. Based on what I read, I like one part, which is there were no safety laws at work. And one of the most interesting part also, there was a big contrast between the rich and the poor. People who are like in national disasters and U.S. history, as well as immigration, will most probably be interested in reading this book. Readers also can gain knowledge of what it was like to work in New York City in the early 1990s. I have to let you know, some people may not like this book because it is very depressing, but this is an important event in history to remember. My opinion of this book are very describable, but this book was very well written. It has unique plot for each of every pages. It has black and white photos which more interesting. And Flesh and Blood So Cheap is very recommended because it gives us a better idea of what people's life were like. When I read this book, it told me about how the people who born in that era survived themselves. It made me understood what people in that era had gone throughout, especially the hardships. Actually, I have learned a bit about history, although our history lesson doesn't cover Western history. If I were born in that era, I feel proud because I have to go through with the hardships. When I finished the whole pages of the books, I feel so touched, and I rate this book 10 over 10. By the way, the books end on a cautionary note, reminding readers of fires in recent history, where the desire for cheap labor is still costing many lives, and emphasize of the short woman blessing in relation to the tragedies of the past. And thank you for watching. Thank you for lending your ears to my book review.